Sztanyo, what's going on? Happy Thursday, February 12th. Hope you're having a great day. Welcome in to Team Sztanyo Live, where we're talking all things Cincinnati, all things real estate, all things living in Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky. And we're going to be talking about deals today. Are there deals out there to be had for buyers? We are coming out of the winter thaw. Praise the Lord. Usually I'm not excited at all to see just the brown of winter, but it's been white around here for several weeks, and it's kind of nice. And so we're coming out of that thaw, and I think we're coming into the season of buying season, right? There's going to be more homes on the market. There's going to be more buyers out there in the market as well. And the question is, what kind of discounts can you get out there? We're going to look specifically at the data, not just here locally, but also nationally, and kind of see where does Cincinnati stack up when it comes to discounts, when it comes to price reduction, when it comes to, how much off of list price could you actually get? And then we're going to stack that. We're going to take that data in and we're going to compare it. And I'm going to show you the market stats of what we've seen in the last few months, the actual data, the median home prices, the amount of homes that have been sold, the days on market, so that you, whether you are a buyer, whether you are an investor, whether you are relocating to the area, can make a wise real estate decision. And as always, feel free to drop in the chat. Love to know where you're watching from. Love to know, did you do anything crazy during the snowstorm? If you were here locally, did you get snow where you were at? But that's obviously, I love doing these YouTube lives beyond our weekly videos that we put out. In our long forms that usually go out on Fridays, because I get to interact with you and you get to ask me questions directly. So let's do it. What is going on, Alex? Ahoy, spring is here. Time to get out and buy a house. Let's go. It is time. Yeah, I think a lot of people are kind of feeling that itch. I know the last few weeks, it was just hard to get out. Honestly, there was ice, there was snow, it was cold. And I think a lot of people are like, let's go, let's do it. I know I've got a listing myself, had a few listings that were like waiting for the winter to thaw a little bit to go out there. And I think that's going to be happening around town a lot. And I think a lot of buyers who are ready to make the move in 2026 are ready to get out there. So we're going to go through some of this data and some of these articles. The first one I'm going to pull up tonight is this headline that was on Redfin News a little over a week ago. Home buyers are scoring the biggest discounts in 13 years. So I want to look at this data nationally, and then we're going to, like I said, I'm going to drill down very, very locally here. So let's dig in. The typical buyer who scored a home for below the list price in 2025 got 7.9% discount. That was the largest discount since 2012, 13 years. 1 in 4 buyers who got discounts scored 10% or more off of the list price, the highest share since 2012. And nearly 2/3 of all home buyers got discounts last year, the highest share since 2019. So that's what we're digging in on. Is it time for you to buy? Maybe you've been waiting. Now, obviously, home prices have gone way up, but this is the first kind of breather we've seen for buyers where they've got a little leverage, where they've got longer days on market, higher inventory, and greater discounts. Again, this data is showing the most since 2012. So typical home buyer who scores a discount gets 7.9% off. You can see that low point was really, 2020, 2021, and then it popped up in 2022 a little bit. But that's the highest we've seen in, 13 years here. So that's a $31,592 discount. Again, these are kind of national numbers. The median numbers of the list price were $399. Median numbers here locally are around $315. We'll look at that data a little bit more. Among all home buyers, not just those who paid less than the list price, the average discount was 3.8% or $15,000. So not everyone's still getting a discount. It's very market specific still, and that's why I want to keep going in these. So 62% of all home buyers scored discounts last year. And again, you can look at just how much higher that was than previous years. You see that number going up. 62% scored a discount last year. Now we're just talking about not paying full price, okay? So home buyers are more likely to get discounts than they were in recent years because it's the strongest buyer's market in recent history. There are a record 47% more home sellers than buyers, giving the buyers who are in the market options and negotiating power. And that's what I'm feeling locally. We've had a few buyers get under contract in the last few weeks where we were able to flex a little bit. I'm not going to lie. Particularly looking at some houses that have been on the market a little bit longer and sellers who are like, this has been out here 45, 60, 90 days or more. And, that's when sellers are willing to take some deals. Now it'll be interesting to see what happens in the next few months. Cause we also, at this time of year, every single month from now until June, July, buyer activity usually picks up. And so around here, that demand is still pretty strong. How does that impact everything? I always tell people on this channel, if you're trying to get a discount in the Cincinnati market, the winter, kind of late fall and winter is your best bet. Now, the downside to that is there's the least amount of inventory out there. And so you've got less options to choose from. But the people who are selling in the winter, the people who are selling when you get 12 inches of snow and their house is still on the market, they need to sell. They've probably moved out, or they've got something going on where if they could have waited until March, April, May to list the home on the market, they probably would have, because typically speaking around here, that's when you're going to get the most amount of money as a seller, is when you list it in April, in May, in June, in those spring, early summer months, because that's when the most buyer demand is there. But if you're a buyer around here, typically, late fall and winter is the best time to get a house. So let's keep going on here. Home buyers in 2026 shouldn't write off homes that are slightly above their budget, because there's a good chance they'll get some sort of concession from the seller, be it a price cut, money toward closing costs, or funds for repairs. That's true. Again, I'm seeing that a little bit locally. I think it depends. Like what we're seeing here, and you'll see these numbers in just a second, is there's kind of two categories of houses. There are houses that can sit and will get price reduced because they're not in the best shape or they're overpriced. And there are houses that are priced right. They're still in these highly desirable neighborhoods. Let's call it Hyde Park, Marymount, Mason, Madeira, Fort Thomas. And if they're priced right and in great condition, they're still going to go full price, if not over. So there's a little bit of both. And it kind of depends on the market nationally where you're at. So the average discount in 2024 was 7.5%. It bumped up to 7.9 in 2025. The average discount on all homes sold, though, had a much larger bump from 2.9% all the way up to 3.8%. And it went from 57.5% of homes that sold below list price to 62.2%. And only 22% versus 26.5% sold for above original list price in 2025. Now, I want to get down. There's more stats here about houses, about condos, about areas around the country, because I think this map is what's really interesting, is where you see kind of the hot spots here. So the cooler blue and the darker blue are areas where there weren't, the average discounts weren't as large. And where you're seeing more of the discounts, you're seeing them in Texas. You see a lot of them in Florida. You see some in, around Michigan, Cleveland area, Pennsylvania here as well. But a lot of the country, still had discounts, but not as heavy. We're right here in Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky area. And we're kind of like a little in the middle, a little slightly below the middle in terms of the amount of discount we saw here. And I make this joke a lot that I say Cincinnati is kind of the most average city in America. And I'm like, yeah, this kind of plays out once again, proves the theory. Here we are, kind of light blue. We're going to be right around here. So let's take a look at some of these areas themselves. There was a few places where discounts didn't happen. So interestingly enough, these prices were going down the last few years around San Francisco, Newark, New Jersey, San Jose, California. But those on average, people actually paid above list price in those areas. But we're going to look at the 50 most popular metros in 2025. And we've got an alphabetical here. We see Cincinnati coming in right here. Our median list price is $315. Our percent of homes that sold below the original list price was 57%. Our average discount was only 2.7%. The average discount for homes that did sell, so once you had a price reduction, homes that sold below the original list price was 7%. So what I want to do right here is kind of just stack this up. So you can kind of look by median, and you can see some of the surrounding cities that Cincinnati is pretty close to. St. Louis is at 280, Philadelphia 299, Cincy's at 315, Indianapolis 325, San Antonio 325, Warren, Michigan 325, Kansas City, Milwaukee, Columbus, Houston, all kind of in our price point from a median sale price. Even Chicago, it's actually surprising to me. The median sale price is not that much higher than Cincy, only 370. But let's take a look here at let's sort it by the percent of homes that sold below original list price. And what you see is Cincinnati's kind of on the top third of this list, top third to the middle. There are 57% of homes sold below the list price. But if we scroll down here and look at the homes that are greater than that, Philly, San Diego, Pittsburgh, here's the median, or here's the national USA at 62%. Then Nashville, Indianapolis, Denver, Atlanta, Las Vegas. A lot of these homes saw a lot of these metros, Vegas, Fort Worth, Orlando, Phoenix, Tampa, Houston, Dallas, saw 70% or more of the homes see a price reduction. And a lot of those end up being in West Palm Beach, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, Florida, Austin, Texas. So you're seeing a lot of those price reductions happen in those Sunbelt states, in those southern states where, quite frankly, I think a few things happened. I think there was a lot of buildup from inventory from new construction standpoint, and then the demand kind of started to taper off. Insurance was a big deal, especially in Florida. Insurance rates went crazy. And so a lot of that demand that flooded down to Florida, right, during or after COVID, was really pulling back. And some people with the insurance rates are like, this is too expensive, I'm out. Either insurance or, you live a few years. Florida is really nice. It's a nice idea to us Midwesterners or Northerners when, it's December, when it's January, where it's February. That snowbird idea is for real. It's got real legs. And, my wife, I think each year is growing, she's growing wings, I think every single year of I want to be down in Florida for the winter. This stinks. I don't like this here. And, but I think, then you live in Florida year round and you're like, oof, July, August is really hot. It's a little different when you're down there full time versus, just going down there for the winter. I saw one of your recent videos. Any recommendations for those who own property in the urban core area? Yeah, I think, I've got a few videos, a few more coming out. I was actually down at the convention center, which I might pop that up here in just a second. My general advice for, people who own down the urban core is I think you're in a good spot. If you can hold, now, if you need to cash out for a lifestyle reason or move or something, I get it. But I think the amount of investment that's coming down into the urban core with the convention center, with the banks, with the arena that's going to be coming, with all these, commercial buildings that are turning into residential spaces, with new grocery stores going in, with new hotels going in, there's a lot of energy and momentum going down into the urban core. So I think, if you own down there, it makes the downside to that is, and the trade-offs are kind of, while a lot of that buildup is happening, there are, it's construction headache, it's detours and things like that kind of make your daily life a little bit, frustrating for sure. The other thing I forgot to mention is the Brent Spence Bridge and how that's going to impact as well. But there's so much new development happening down there that if you're an owner, I would say hold fast. If you don't own yet, you might want to get in, because I think you're going to see, continued growth down in the urban core of Cincinnati for sure. That's my thoughts there. And in fact, I went down, I will go ahead and share this real quick. I went down and was able to check out the convention center. One of my clients actually recently moved to the Cincinnati area and works at the convention center. So I kind of got a behind the scenes tour. And the Duke Convention Center, they just sold their naming rights for $10.1 million to First Financial Center. So it's now the First Financial Center, which is a downtown-based bank here in Cincinnati. But I got to see kind of behind the scenes, and it was impressive, like super cool down there. So much brighter, so much more wide open, airier, feels modern, feels crisp. Like before, kind of walking through the tour, and if you guys had ever been in the convention center, it was like kind of dark, kind of dingy, felt tight, felt crowded. It was almost like you felt embarrassed having an event there, because you're like, yeah, it's not like the best. And they really, I think, did a fantastic job down here with the redevelopment. All these cool arts and murals are down there. Like I said, wide open, feels way more modern, bright, open. The concourses, this third floor hallway was awesome with the ceiling. This was really, it's hard to kind of see it in this photo. I don't think it really, and I tried to actually video in this room because it looks so cool. It probably won't actually give you the experience of what it is, but it's awesome. You got great views of downtown as well. You've got great views of the highways. You got great views of the banks, and you can even look down to Paycor Stadium. And there's also these spots, and here's the actual main floor of the convention center. You also have a few spots that kind of spill out. So you've got the Elm Street Plaza that's there. I had a bunch of my friends went down with our youth group, and they were ice skating down there this last week, had a blast at the Elm Street Plaza. And the kids just felt great down there too. Like they felt very safe. They felt, had a good time down there. But this is one of those areas on the third floor, the sky deck just off of the junior ballroom. So you can set up, your bars out here, and hors d'oeuvres or whatever. But you got these great views of the city from these these outdoor sky decks as well. So just like, this is just one of many, many projects that's getting the facelift. You got Rookwood tile all throughout. And it was funny, my client was giving me the tour, and he's like, hey, it's Rookwood tile. And I was like, ooh, Rookwood tile. And if you're from Cincinnati, like it's kind of a thing. And he's like, yeah, what is that? I keep getting that reaction from people like, ooh. I'm like, well, they're this old company, they've done great work for years. Their tiles kind of through all these old homes throughout. I'm like, basically, like, when Cincinnatians see Rookwood tile, it just makes them happy. And when they hear the phrase Rookwood tile, they're like, ooh, Rookwood tile. So it was cool because they've got these kind of throughout as well, different places that have this Rookwood tile, which is looked really great as well. Just overall really cool. These huge, more functional ballrooms as well with the air walls and all of that. So really, really cool. Brian, thank you again for the tour. My video will be coming out again soon. Oh, and also the LED screen. If you guys have been driving around Cincinnati, you've seen this lit up now, and you've seen, they can do anything they want with it now. It's cool. Like before, it was kind of like you could kind of see it, like if you squinted as you were driving by. Now it's like, no, this is sweet. This is like our front door to the city. The convention center is the front door to the city. I think the thing that's really going to make this thing shine and stand out is when they get that hotel, built next door. Because then when, in order to book these major national events, we've got to have it all connected, right? We've got to have the space. We need the modern hotels from them. And the ones that are right across the street, there's actually a sky bridge that's going to connect to the new hotel, the Marriott Hotel. And once that thing really is up and done, and it's going to, I think there's several people who wish that thing was a little bit further along than it was. But once that hotel gets done, I think the convention center will really start shining. Then you get the arena in place, and it's like, all right, now we are off to the races. And, events that we've maybe lost out to for cities for years, we can start to target and go after. And I just think, I think it's really important for the city. I know you're like, it's just a convention center, but I think, the impression you get, so many people who come here have never been to the city. And so if you have a really good first impression of the city, that's going to draw more talent. It's going to keep more excitement down in the urban core. It's going to keep more talent as well. But it's going to, you're introducing people like, hey, this is what we got. This is who we are. And I think they did a fantastic job there. So well done, everyone involved with this this redevelopment. Super cool. Like I said, I got a video coming out that will show a little bit more of it, kind of behind the scenes. That'll probably come out in a week or two. But really, really cool to see that convention center take off. All right, let's get back to these stats. Alex, you're great at sidetracking me, man. But that was really cool. So, okay, going back to these stats of where Cincy is, you can tell, again, out of all these major metros and the amount of homes that saw price reductions, Cincy's kind of on the lower half of the amount of homes that sold below the original list price. So there's this dichotomy here where, yeah, some homes, about 50%, 57% are going to sell below, but some of them, 43% of them are not. And that's much different than these other cities where, West Palm Beach right now, 88% are selling below list price, 80s, 70%, 3 out of 4 homes are selling below list price. And here it's more like 1 out of 2. That's a big difference. Okay, let's sort these by the average discount for the homes. And this is, again, since he's kind of falling right here in, not quite half. Let's see if we got there's the national again. The national is 3.8. Since he's at 2.7% this is the average discount for all the homes that are sold. So on the average discount of homes that sold below list price, you're seeing about where is it? Since he's 7% discount. So, if let's say there's a $500,000 home, just for simple math here, if it lowered the price, you could see about a $35,000 reduction in total from that original list price of $500,000. Make sense? Whereas if it doesn't drop, if we're not seeing a price reduction, you're seeing about a 2.5% to 3% reduction. So same $500,000 house might see a $10,000 reduction, something like that. If there's or $10,000 discount versus 35, and that's why I keep saying over and over again on these, if you're a seller, like where who you're using to kind of understand, in terms of the agent you're using to understand the market and understand what's happening, not just in Cincinnati as a whole, but in your specific niche market as well. And where you place that original listing price is incredibly important right now. We just saw that example of a $500,000 house, the difference between a $10,000 discount and a $35,000 discount. And sometimes it's a lot more, where like if you get in that spiral where you are dropping the price and then of course the buyer is going to come in and ask for the discount, you're really eating it. You're taking a haircut there. And I'm just talking about a $500,000 house. So do the math. If you are selling a home for $700,000 and it's a 7% discount on average, that's $50,000 off. So it's, versus pricing it right on the front end, getting that activity and buyer momentum that first week, that second week, where it's like, hey, we got open houses, like this is priced right, you better get in here. We're not pushing it so far. And then you can get either that full price. I mean, there's some homes that are still getting over list price as well. Not as many, but still, it's a much better place to be in a seller. And then, just imagine as a seller, you've got the home on the market. You're like, how long is it going to be out there? I've got to reduce the price. Then you're going to get a bad, you're going to get a bad offer because somebody's going to be like, well, you haven't sold it, so I'm going to throw out this number. And it's, then you've got the stress of keeping the home ready and, showing ready the whole time. And if you got kids or if you got pets, that's just a lot of work to do. So make sure you're pricing it right on the front end. Make sure you have an excellent pricing strategy. Make sure you have an excellent marketing strategy, and you're working with a listing agent who really, like I said, understands what's going on with the trends and the pricing of that particular market. So, the major thing I wanted to show you guys on this was, look, yeah, the headline is largest discounts in 13 years. And that absolutely is the case. But here in Cincinnati, And again, it is the most leverage I've seen buyers have in several years. Don't get me wrong, but the discounts are bigger, where we're seeing them. So if you're only reading national headlines and you're reading things about California or Texas or New York or Pennsylvania, where there are larger discounts happening, just know that like if you're relocating to Cincinnati and shopping here, yes, you can probably get some discounts, but don't be expecting to see the same thing here that you're seeing in Florida or Texas or, or Georgia or other places in that Sun Belt where a lot of buildup of inventory happened and didn't necessarily happen here. The inventory is growing. It's more than it was. You can get some discounts, but it's not like I can do whatever I want. It's not 2009, 2010 kind of discounts. So just keep that in mind. So the other thing I kind of wanted to point out here and talk about was interest rates and just kind of where we're at and where we're heading maybe in 2026. But you guys can see, do you remember this? Remember these beautiful glory days of 4%, of 3.5% rates, right? 4.5%. And if you didn't buy then, you're just kicking yourself every single day. Like, dang it, why didn't I buy then? Why didn't I refinance? And then look at these beauties, man, dropping down 3%, 2%, 2.77. Unreal. Okay. And then boom, we're not there. Okay. So the last going back to 20, it really bumped up in fall of 2022 into the sixes. We've been in those sixes and sevens, mostly the sixes, but let's see here. Let's just do the last year here. Okay. We have been trending down quite a bit, so sixes, 6.5, trailing down at 6.2. The trend line is there to get into the fives here this year. And I would say, yeah, Alex, for sure. The 2.875 golden handcuffs. That's exactly right. And so if you don't know that phrase, what Alex is referring to is all those wonderful people who did buy or refinance in those years. And they're like, yeah, I'm not selling my house. Like I'm locked in at 2.875. I'm good. You go find your own 6% house somewhere else. And I get it. But what's happening is, as more people, as those rates are getting closer to the fives, a lot of those people, they may be growing out of that house. Let's say it was a starter home or maybe your second home and you had no kids or one kid and now you have two or three or maybe even more. Or maybe you're downsizing and you're just like that house that I am golden handcuffed in, isn't quite serving my purposes anymore. I want to upsize or I want to downsize or I want to move into a different school district or, my job shifted. I want to be closer to work, whatever it is, as you get closer and closer, as you see these rates come down from the sevens and high sixes down to the low sixes into the fives. Well, now, that gap is not quite as big. Let's say, maybe you didn't bottom out at 2.875. Maybe you got one at 3.5, or maybe you got one at 4. Well, the jump from 3.5 or 4 to 5.8 or whatever, 5.9 or 6, it's not as drastic. And so you're going to see, you probably will see a little bit more inventory, but I think more so what you will see is you'll see a lot more of that buyer demand come kind of flooding back into the market. Have you guys ever seen those Instagram videos where like one guy's running down the street and then like he looks around his shoulder and there's a second guy, and then there's like a third, and then there's like 12 and then 20 and then like 1,000 as he's running down the street? That's kind of the meme / like idea. I feel like what's going to happen if we hit into the fives in the spring, it's going to be like everyone goes shopping, let's go. And while, obviously every quarter point, like any change on the interest rate makes a massive difference on, your mortgage payment, your housing payment every single month. The problem is, if demand floods back in, prices are going to go back up, right? Because you're not going to have an enormous amount of new supply. We just don't have that here in Cincy. And so the question is, well, what's the trade-off? Should I wait for the rate? I tend to think like, I don't say, there's a lot of advice or realtors who try to get you to buy a house and say, hey, you can marry the house and date the rate. And they'll kind of like twist your arm a little bit and be like, you can always refinance. And I don't like that way of selling. I think you need to marry the house and the rate, because you don't know what's going to happen with the rates. They could go up or down. It's true, you could refinance if they go down. I'm not denying that. I think when people buy, you need to buy for what fits your budget, what fits your lifestyle, what fits your family at that time. I think trying to time the real estate market. Now, I'm trying to give you my best advice here. And I actually think, as what I'm seeing in this trend line from the interest rate, where we were at with winter, like those are great times to buy. I try to give that advice over and over again here. When everyone's coming back into the market, then it gets a little bit more competitive, and you know, that savings you might get on your monthly payment, you might end up blowing, because now you're in multiple offers and you've got to offer 15 grand over the list price. And so it's like, did you win by waiting? I don't know, So, but I think for everyone, it's just when's best for you. What do you need for your life? And is it time to buy? Is it time to sell? The rates are going to do their thing, but I am at least trying to show you guys where they're at and what could be coming here in 2026. So, questions or comments on that? But Alex, you're definitely right. This has happened across the country. This has happened definitely here locally, where that inventory has stayed down in large part because, because of those low rates. So, all right, let me bring up, let me switch gears for a minute, and whoops. All right, I'll figure it out. I'll know how to produce my show sooner or later. Just give me like 6 more years. Share screen, and this, we're going to bring up some stats. All right, this is my favorite. I'm a stat nerd, not going to lie. I liked math in high school and middle school and elementary school. But I like trying to interpret these for you guys. Let me make this. Yeah, I'll stay little and just try to make this big so you guys can see it. Okay. So it's been a few months, I think, since I've gotten one of these up. I want to give you guys the update. I think the last time I did it was November, and I was like, I think that's an anomaly. And I said, I'm pretty sure last time I did this, I said, and someone check the receipts, go call it out. But I'm pretty sure I was like, I think we're going to see that go back down in December, which we did. And we saw it go back down in November. What we're looking at right now is a 2-year period of the median price of the sold homes in Claremont, Butler, Warren, and Hamilton counties. So those are kind of the 4 largest counties in Ohio surrounding Cincinnati. Okay. And I'm actually going to pull myself up here. And what we're seeing is a trend line that over the last 2 years, there has been an increase of 11.67%. So let's just round that up and say over the last 2 years, we've seen about 12% growth in the median sale price of single family homes and condominiums in those 4 counties. Roughly what I've been telling people, about 6% a year, okay, is what we've seen. Now, again, pockets are different. Neighborhoods are different. Some are higher winners than that. Some are losers than that. But median over those areas, total change over 2 years, 12% increase. And what that plays itself out to be is the median home price in January of 2024, 2 years ago, was $256,000. And in January 2026, 2 years later, that number was $305,000. So it went up roughly 50 grand in 2 years. And that is a lot, like I said, while there are other, it's not crazy. I try to say this over and over again. If you're relocating here and you're trying to understand the Cincinnati real estate market, this is just very common. Like, we are a stable, steady, kind of like tortoise wins the race type of real estate market. We don't swing too high. We don't swing too low. Oftentimes we kind of lag behind coastal states or really hot markets. Like if there's a really, really, really hot market, like there was in COVID, it was hot here, but our hot wasn't 25% growth. It was like 10% growth. But in the recession, like when it went down in these other markets, when it went down 20%, we went down like 5%, like it's just a very stable market, 5-10%, something like that. And so that's what you see. Like this chart is a very common seasonal year in Cincinnati. And what you see, the other thing I want to point out here is just, again, I make this point a lot when I look at this chart, but you can see the seasonality. You can see where January is the low point in 2024. It's the low point in 2025. It's the low point in 2026, which is why I say over and over again, if you want the discount, like the lowest prices, and those January sales were probably shopping in December. And it makes sense, right? It's cold, it's dark, and there's Christmas and New Year's, right? And there's not a lot of home shopping going on because people are spending time with their families and their Christmas shopping and all that stuff. But if you want to get the lowest price in the Cincinnati market, that tends to be the time, both resale homes and new construction. New construction homes in particular, and even still this time of year, there's a decent amount of inventory out there on these spec homes, on these market-ready homes, where you can get a decent discount. They've lowered the prices on a lot of these homes because they want to move that inventory and they want to build the next one. They want to hit the wave of what's happening after January, because what happens after is prices tend to go up all the way, and they usually peak in either June or July. And why is that? Well, it's our weather here. It gets warmer. Things turn from brown and gray to green and flowery, and people like being outside in the springtime and the summertime. And also, the other big thing is just the school year here. And I know this is the same in a lot of places around the country, but, people, especially families, there's a lot of families in Cincinnati. It's a great place to raise a family. And if they're going to make a move, if they're moving for a school district or something like that, then they want to make that move at the end of the school year during the summer so that the kids can start the next school year in the school and you're kind of rooted down. And so that's a big chunk of homes that sell in these school districts. And the larger market kind of follows that as well, because that's when you get, again, the most beauty of the homes. It's when the houses kind of look the best. You get the best daylight hours and the best landscaping and all that. And it just kind of rides that curve. So what you see, from January through February, March, April, May, June, July, is the median sale price is going to go up a little bit every year. And so let's just kind of take that through the other stats here. And we can look at supply and demand as well. So you see the pattern here. We're looking at the amount of units that are for sale. That's what's in red. And the amount of units that are sold, which is in green. Now, what's interesting to me is what we're seeing, and this is why I'm seeing some of that buyer opportunity here in Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky, which is that there's more inventory hitting the market than there are. The rate of increase of homes for sale is more than the rate of increase for homes sold. So homes sold actually went up 6.5%. You can tell it's a little bit up, but it's not nearly as much up as 37% growth in the amount of homes sold. So that's giving you that more inventory that's sitting on the market longer. That's giving you the access to those discounts and those deals that we talked about in the top of the show. Alex is saying, congrats on Circle of Excellence Award. Thank you. Yeah, just posted that. You probably saw it on either my Facebook or Instagram. I'm getting lazy on my social posts, guys. I'm not going to lie. I like doing YouTube, but logging onto Instagram and Facebook, I'm just there's another lender who's going to try to befriend me or something like that. But yeah, we had a great year. Let me pull that up real quick. Let me see here. Stop screen. Instagram. Yeah, we had our biggest year ever in 2025, 2025. Forgot what year it is. So as a team at Team Sztanyo, we won the silver category. They break you down into small teams, mid-size, and large. I think I qualify for mid-size. I don't know. The amazing Carrie Reichwein actually filled out my application for this, but yeah, we had our biggest year ever. We sold, I think we were in the 60, maybe 65 homes in 2024. We sold 91 homes last year. We had a 40% increase in sales volume. We had agents on the team besides me who capped, which in the Keller Williams world means you're doing good. It means in Keller Williams, the way every broker is a little different on this. Here's a little inside baseball for you guys. But Keller Williams, if you sell a certain amount during the year, you pay them, they're kind of split. Once you hit that capped amount, you get 100% of your commissions the rest of the year, which is really nice. And so we had another agent on the team cap for the first time, which was really, really cool. In fact, he capped in his first month last year, which was awesome. So, and he's going to have a great year this year. Our other agent, Matthew, is going to have a great year this year. They're growing, they're learning, they're serving our clients. It's really exciting to see that growth. We also had a new baby. Well, I didn't have a new baby, but my assistant, Carrie, had her first baby just a few weeks ago. So she's been on maternity leave. And so, yeah, huge growth. 2025, there's me taking a picture. There's the trophy. In fact, here it is. Here we go. Here's the actual hardware. Bam, Team Sztanyo, silver, 2025. There it is. Shiny. I like it. So we've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2, 4, 6, 7. Yeah, 7. I think I've won these every year I've been eligible. But I think what's encouraging to me is the team's growing. Like, that's really exciting to me. And seeing this used to be kind of, I actually, again, you guys don't, so sorry if you tune out on this. Sorry, I apologize. JS, my 1WB, I'm going to get to you in just a second. I used to think about this business of like, it's simpler if I just do it with me. And I just kind of had my own individual business going. But growing the team has been super fulfilling. We sold more homes. We've helped more people. It's the business itself is blessing our own team. And that's like our internal core values and mission statement is actually that, like, we're blessing our team more and then our clients and then kind of the city. And that's happening. And so it's really fulfilling to see that. So I think this year is like, it was a huge success in terms of sales. And I always joke about this because I think it's funny that real estate agents go and we give ourselves trophies. We have to pay to go to this awards show. It's just so silly. And like, we go pat ourselves on the back, and a room full of real estate agents who are patting themselves on the back is a lot for me. I'll be honest. We're a certain breed of people for the most part. And then you give them drink tickets. And it's like, oh boy. Okay. So it's not like my jam. I'm the kind of guy who talks on YouTube to you guys, to my camera, not the kind of guy that works a room of 400 real estate agents and feels really comfortable. Now, my boy Danny Barron, on the other hand, he's like energy machine networker, and like, that's his wheelhouse. Go in there and shake 1,000 hands, and I'm just like, can I go home to my wife and make a YouTube video? That's kind of where I'm at. So, but thank you, Alex. Yeah, it was a big year, and our biggest year ever. Looking for more this year. And I keep mentioning this. I'm kind of throwing it out there on socials. I'm throwing it out there on LinkedIn, but we're looking for more specifically agents to join the team. And if you're an agent who's been doing this for a little while, you've got some experience, but you don't have maybe the systems or the admin or the lead gen, I want to talk to you. Because we're continuing, like, my aim on this, you guys who are watching, like, this is the secret sauce, but it's fine. Like, my goal and why I'm making these videos is to bring value to people, and they don't call us unless it's valuable, but we get a lot more we get a lot of calls, and I can't service all of the leads. And so that's why we're growing the team. So if you're an agent, we'd love to have you, and or at least have that conversation. So hit us up. Okay, so let me get into this. Okay, so we bought in 2020. I have a 4-bed, 2 full bath, 2 half bath, and debating remodeling a half bath to full with a shower, 10 to 20K, or do I buy new construction from builder and add 300K to the mortgage? 3 kids with 1 full bath isn't going to work. 3 teenagers. Okay. And congrats. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right, let me go through this again. So we bought in 2020. You have a 4-bed, 2 full bath, 2 half bath right now. You're debating remodeling a half bath to a full. So with the half bath you're changing to a full, would that become a 3 full bath? Or do I buy new construction from a builder and add $300K? Yeah, I'm happy to talk through this more with you. I want to know kind of where you're at, what the new construction would mean for your kids in school. Would that take them out of the district or not? There's probably larger, yes. So you would have 2 full bath while you are doing the work, and then you would have 3. Depends on where you're at, and you might not want to share that on this. I mean, feel free to set up in fact, I'll throw my Calendly in the chat here. If you want to set up an appointment with me, I'm happy to talk through this with you. Bam. Okay. So you can grab an appointment with me. It should be coming through in the chat there. 3 teenagers. Yeah. I could see why 1 bathroom down would be hard. I don't know. I probably need a little bit more details. I think, there's pros and cons to each. You're certainly typically when people are adding value to their house, it's when you're improving the functionality. So certainly, changing 1 half to a full would do that. That definitely helps. Or you're adding more usable square footage, or you're doing something major, like a new kitchen, new bathrooms, or adding like an outdoor space, a covered deck or something like that. That's where you're really getting the value out of it. Depending on where you're at too, it might make sense to stay there. But I know that's a headache. My family just went through a home addition, and it was the hardest thing I think we've ever done in our life. Now, granted, it was a big project. It was more than a bath, but it was hard. It's true. It's always harder and takes longer, and it's more expensive than you think. But like to your point, new construction is expensive too. And so my gut feeling is that doing the bath is probably going to save you the money if you can kind of bite the bullet on the headache, during the renovation. It sounds like you might have quotes already. If not, I've got some friends who run a business called 3-Day Kitchen and Bath, and there's a bit of a premium on it in terms of the work, but they do a great job. The whole idea is speed. And so if you don't want to deal with the headache for that long, hit me up on that. I'm happy to give you their name and number. They do a fantastic job. So yeah, that's as far as I know, that's my thoughts. If you want to set up a call, happy to talk more on that. So, all right, let's go back to the stats again. And I want to show you guys a few more things here, and then we might call it a night. But happy, by the way, JS-my1WB. Thank you. I love doing those conversations and having those interactions. So appreciate you watching and asking my personal 2 cents. I've got 2 teenagers now. I got a 15 and 13-year-old, and then I've got a 10, 8, and 6. And so I get it. Sharing bathrooms is not easy, but my personal opinion would be to, have a family meeting probably and be like, guys, we got to bite the bullet for a month or whatever it is, or 2 weeks. And then we're going to have 3 full baths and teenager XYZ, you're going to get your own bathroom. And if it's a daughter, it's like, yeah, that would be a game changer, I'm sure. Now, look, I'm not hating on new construction. I love new construction. I sell a lot of new construction. I will make my standard new construction disclaimer that if you are interested in that, reach out to us first. Anyone who's out there watching this, if you're thinking about new construction, please reach out to us first and let us introduce you to the builder, because that way they're going to pay for our commission. It won't cost you a single dime. They'll pay for our commission 100%. 9 times out of 10, they will. And now you get the builder and you get a real estate agent on your side who can negotiate for you, who can be there with you throughout the process, who can talk about, neighborhoods and appreciation and values and all that stuff from a different angle than just a builder who's trying to sell you. We work on your behalf and then get the builder to pay for us, but we've got to make that introduction first. So I say that all the time, not just to you, JS-my1WB, but to anyone who's watching, if you're thinking new construction, reach out to us first. Let us make that intro. Don't even fill out that form on the site. Don't go into the model home yet. Once we make that introduction and you're registered, then you can, ask all the questions you want to the builder, because then we'll be alongside of you along the way. But you get the best of both worlds then, because you get the builder and the real estate agent, and the real estate agent doesn't cost you anything more. We're just working on your behalf throughout the process. So that's just a little tip. Always try to call that out when we're talking new construction. So will do. I'll reach out. Thanks. Right on. We'll talk soon. Okay. So where were we? All right, let's move on here. So let's look at market dynamics. I brought this one up because this is the amount of units that have sold in the last 2 years. And again, what we're seeing is about 6%, 6.5% growth of units sold over the last 2 years, not units for sale. And the other thing I think I wanted to point out on this again is just, if you're out there shopping right now and you're like, man, there is nothing for sale. Well, then here's why. Again, look at these January numbers: 880 units, 1,018, 881 in January 26, compared to, like I said, where it really starts ramping up is April, May, June. You got 1,400 units, 1667, 1871, 1863, 1808, 1734. So, you know, more supply happens in, like I said, spring into early summer. More than double the amount of units actually sold in those months than here in January. So if you're looking right now and you're like, oh my gosh, like it is slim pickings out there, there's a reason why. And I think this chart, again, is helpful. You can really see the seasonality here in Cincinnati. And by the way, these numbers are the same for Northern Kentucky as well. So Mifito, what's up? Got to get ready for a dinner reservation at Salazar. That's going to be nice. Enjoy your evening. I'll catch the video the day later. So awesome. Sweet. Thanks for checking in. Appreciate you watching. All you guys watching, thank you so much again. I know I just appreciate you guys, watching a real estate agent. And I hope that this is helpful. And by the way, like, drop in the chat, drop in the comments if you're watching this later. If there are topics I'm not hitting, if there are questions you have, that's why I want to do these lives. I want to kind of build these topics around you. I'm definitely trying to give you insights in the latest on the market. But if you're like, well, I want to know about that neighborhood, I want to know about that school district, like, that's what I'm here for. I love doing that kind of research and answering your questions. So don't be afraid to ask the questions. Okay, this is kind of going back to that Redfin article. Let me pull this up full screen. And what this is showing is the difference between the average sale price to original price comparison. The dark blue are homes that had no price changes, and the light blue are homes that had at least one price reduction. Okay. And the difference here, if you guys can see this, is, on average, you're looking at a sale price of 98% min, 100% max. You're actually getting about 100% on average of the sale price if you didn't do a price reduction. Whereas if you do if you do a price reduction, you're seeing about an 8% reduction on price. So again, what I'm trying to say again is going back to what's up, Dylan? Going back to if you're selling, okay, that original list price matters so much. It matters so much. You on average are going to get 100% of your list price if you price it right. If you make that mistake, you're seeing on average a 9% drop. So again, what does that cost you if you price it wrong? Let's just say a $500,000 house, 9% drop. It's a $45,000 discount you missed. Now, if you priced it less, maybe it's somewhere in the middle. Like, maybe you didn't price it to 500,000, right? Maybe you priced it at 475 or 480, but you got it, right? And the problem is, if you drop the price, you not only have to drop the price, it's the buyers coming in at the lower discount. And by the way, if you're out there and you're relocating or you're a buyer, that's what I'd love to do, because I'm like a shark when it comes to that. People always ask me, like, okay, if I want to put in an offer, what's the next step? I'm like, well, it all depends. Like, it depends on how long's that home been on the market? Do they have any other activity? Because we're talking multiple thousands, tens of thousands of dollars difference here if that home's been out there and they've had a price reduction already. That's where we can pounce. So Dylan, what's up? Love the live streams. Thank you for all that you do. Eric is one of the most knowledgeable agents I know. He's truly committed on his mission. All right, that may or may not have been a paid plug, but I take it. I'll take it. I am committed to my mission. It's true, and I'll be honest. Like doing these videos, they help me as much, hopefully, as they help you, because I want to be in the market. I want to know exactly what's going on, so that myself and my team, and I make sure my team is watching these videos as well. So it's kind of training for them, so that they are up to speed and know like what exactly is going on in the market, so that we are for sure to give you the best service possible when you're working with Team Sztanyo. So that's another reason why we do these videos, is we want to be on top of our game. It's a reason why we've got 123 5-star reviews, and like our worst review ever is a 4-star. So we're pretty happy about that. We're pretty proud about that. Okay. A few other things, and then we're going to bounce. I'll go get dinner with my family, and you guys can go get dinner at Salazar and wherever else you're going to eat tonight. Days on market, or I'm sorry, month supply of inventory. So what is this chart? This chart is if no new inventory, if no new homes came on the market, how long would it take to sell all of those homes? Okay. And what we're seeing here, again, is if we go over the last 2 years, there's a 76% growth. So this line that's going up, let me make this full screen again for you, is the amount of inventory this year is significantly more in terms of the months on market than the previous year. 76% change. Okay. So in January of 24, that month, that was 1.4 months. In January 29, again, January is going to be the lower months. You do see more inventory. You actually see it dip down here, because this again goes back to what I'm saying is, yeah, there's less inventory, but as more inventory hits the market the next few months, there's also way more buyers. And so the inventory doesn't really creep up until the end of the summer. And I see this happen every year, is that the people go to list their homes in July and in August and September, and they see all the sale prices from, April, May, June. And they're like, oh, great. Well, I'm going to list my home for that. And what they don't realize, I see this mistake happen again and again and again and again. And this chart just bears it out. What they don't realize is, no, you missed it, dude. Like, you missed the peak of the market. Everyone's back in school. All the buyer demand is coming down right now. And so if you're listing it in July, August, September, October, you've actually got to go below the peak season. You already missed the peak season. But the problem is people don't do that. And they work with agents who are like, yeah, you can get that. Look at what your neighbor sold for. I bet you could sell for 10 grand more. And those are bad agents. Don't listen to them. You should listen to me, because what you look at the inventory that stacks up, from the fall into the winter, the month's supply of inventory then. So keep that in mind. I'm trying to help everyone here. I'm helping buyers. I'm helping sellers. I'm helping investors, helping people who are relocating. But point of this overall is it is creeping up. And so while again, going back to the original thought of the night, is that these are the best discounts we've seen in 13 years. And while they're not as large here in Cincinnati as they are in other cities, specifically in the Sun Belt and in the South, they are the largest ones we've seen here in a long time. And so, our median sale price is $300, not $500. So move to Cincinnati. That's the whole point. That's the point of this video. So that's not the only point, but I'm getting more shameless in my plugs. Okay. Days on market here. Last chart I kind of want to look at. And there is a difference here between the dark blue, which is just the days on market, and the lighter blue is the cumulative days on market. So what is CDOM, cumulative days on market? That's if you had a listing and you had it on the market and then you pulled it off because let's say you're getting feedback that your carpet smelled like cat. Okay. Pretty common feedback, to be honest. Or your house smells like Indian food. You ate too much Indian food. Well, you pull it off, you take out the carpet, you put in paint, and then you put it back on. Well, during that time, it was withdrawn. You didn't cancel the listing. And so you put it back on. Maybe you were off for 30 days, and a lot of real estate agents will do this. It'll reset the days on market, but it won't reset the cumulative days on market. So there you go, more inside baseball, but all that to say that the cumulative is always going to be more than the days on market. But kind of the same thing in both of them, which is they're up 49%, up 53%. Days on market is up in the last year of 2025 versus 2026. I expect that to be the case again in 2026, unless, again, if those rates do come down to fives, I expect this to kind of switch. Because I think, like I said, I think there's a lot of buyer demand that's kind of been like waiting. And again, going back to that that video, you've seen it on Instagram, whatever. One guy's running, then someone joins them, then another person joins them, and then like thousands of people join them, and it's sprinting down the road. That's what will happen if rates hit the fives, or get under 5.75. And I do think you will see a little bit. You'll see a little bit more inventory because a few of those golden handcuffs are going to come off, but you'll see way more demand. And so, if I'm predicting 2026 and what's going to happen, I think it's still wise to get in early before you see a potential huge dip and before you see a lot of buyer demand jump into the market. Because I do think rates, we always kind of see this mid a presidential term is it kind of stabilized a little bit more in year 2 and year 3, and rates kind of come down a little bit. And then what happens usually in election years, specifically presidential election years, is people are like, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know. I'm scared. I'm not going to do anything. And you see a little bit more movement in the years in between. That's just kind of like a general principle for election years as well. So, all right, guys. Is there anything? Oh, there actually was a little bit of news I wanted to hit. Just a few things. Let's see here. Oh yeah, there's a big headline. I'm not gonna spend a ton of time on it, but the headline certainly caught my eye. Window. This one. Okay. And okay, there's me patting my back, getting my award. This one. Cincinnati rents are forecasted to outpace growth in Columbus, Cleveland in 2026. Cincinnati ranks among the top 5 U.S. markets for apartment rent growth in 2026. The employment growth is going to be 0.4%, the lowest rate since, at least that's still above the national average, I think, but the lowest since 2017. And new Class A apartments face higher vacancies as economic headwinds dampen tenant demand. So interesting here that the headline's a little confusing here. They're forecasted to outpace Columbus and Cleveland, but they're actually expecting to see a little bit of headwinds, especially in that Class A, as is going to dampen tenant demand a little bit here in Cincinnati. So keep an eye out for that and what that means for you if you're looking to rent this year instead of buy or sell. But it all matters. Okay, we hit this earlier. And then this other thing I thought was interesting by Chrissy Samad of 3CDC. They're launching this $10 valet service in Over the Rhine to solve parking headaches. I just think this is kind of cool. They're creating this whole valet zone. So 3CDC, they're launching a flat rate valet service in OTR. Service costs $10 between Race 15th, Walton, Walnut, and 12th. And they previously attempted an on-demand valet service in Cincinnati, started in 2020. But here it is. There's this pocket, so you can kind of drop it off, and then you can call them, and they'll bring your car anywhere in the zone, and we're talking $10. I love this. So this map shows a service area for 3CDC's new parking valet service. People can drop their cars in the 1300 block of Vine Street and then have it returned to them later anywhere in the shown area. That's super cool. And so 15th down the 12th. Let's pull this up real quick. TR, Cincinnati. Boom. So if you've never been to Cincinnati OTR, it's awesome historic district. Our best kind of restaurants are downtown in this area, or a lot of them, I should say. We got some great ones in Covington and around town as well. But from 12th to 15th, right here, and then I'm sure it's right around Vine, right? Is that what I was looking? Yeah, from Walnut to Race. So from Race to Walnut. So any of these restaurants down here, let me open this in maps. And there are some awesome restaurants, by the way, in this area. Let's go down here. So Pep and Dolores, Alcove, the Eagle. I love Eagle. Makes me hungry. That's such a great date spot. It's just great fried chicken, comfort food. If you're in town, highly recommend the Eagle if you've never had it. Great fried chicken. They do this honey hot Tabasco kind of sauce, mac and cheese, just like all the things, you know. And then they've got like a Miller High Life for like $3. They'll bring out this giant beer, this fried sandwich. Good. Highly recommend the Eagle. Pep and Dolores, really great. Abigail, all these restaurants. You know, this is OTR is loaded with restaurants. But even if you're outside there, or if you're at FC Cincinnati, you're going to TQL Stadium for a soccer game, like my man Alex, you can pop right over and get your car picked up and valet service. So I just think very cool. Love that initiative. Happy to see that. Great job, 3CDC. Christy, love it. Way to go. And I think that's cool. Makes down that OTR experience a little bit better, a little bit more awesome. All right. Did I miss any comments? Don't think so. So I think that's it. I'm going to pop out of here, guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you for liking, subscribing, hitting that alert bell. No, but if you are looking to buy or sell this year, before I get out of here, one more thing. Let me bring this up. Let me see here. 1 second. We are giving away Bengals tickets, Bengals season tickets. You know what? Just watch our socials, okay? But we're giving away a 4-pack of Bengals season tickets on Tuesday. What is that? The 17th? Yes, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Call us in. Let me bring this up real quick. Daner, we've got 2 numbers to call in at. I'll give you one of them. You can call our main line, 513-813-6293. And let me just bring this up so you guys have it on screen here. Where are we? Okay, bam, here. Sorry, again, what I need to do is train my kids to be my producers. That's what needs to happen here. Stop. Present. Okay, here we go. All right, Bengals season tickets giveaway. So here we are. You can call this number. This is actually our number that's going to our Growl Pals, because I'm kind of a sponsor over at The Growler, which is my favorite Bengals podcast. I'm a huge Bengals fan. But we are giving away a 4-pack of season tickets, lower bowl, end zone. These are great seats. 4-pack season tickets, okay? Thousands of dollars to give away. All you got to do is call us. If you're not subscribed to our channel, please do that. Here's a QR code on the screen. Subscribe to my other socials as well. But that's just a bonus, okay? We'll appreciate it if you do that. All you actually have to do to enter is call us in. Now, if you happen to know someone in your network who's buying or selling real estate in the next, month, 3 months, 6 months, and you want to refer them to us, we would greatly appreciate it. You don't have to do that to enter. But if you know someone, hook us up. Send over the referral. We're going to take good care of them. But if not, hey, either way, call us up. Here's a number, 513-202-3589, or you can call 513-813-6293. That's our main business line. We're going to be manning the phones. A lot of them are going to go to voicemail, okay? Because last year we had 600 people call in, and it was like, it was a lot of people. So if it goes to voicemail, we'll call you back. As long as you call in this window, we'll get you registered. Hang in there, leave your name, leave your number, and we'll get back to you. But Bengals season tickets, guys. Bengals season tickets. So mark your calendar. Throw it in your calendar. All you got to do, I'd recommend, throw it in at like noon or 12:30, 1:30, because we might get a rush around 10 a.m. But call us up and get entered to win. We gave away these tickets last year. It was awesome, and he never gave me any of those tickets, which I was a little bit bummed about. But hopefully, he had a good time all year enjoying those tickets. So, all right, guys, that'll do it for tonight. It's good to be back in the YouTube Live saddle again, and hope you have a great night. We'll talk to you in the next one. See ya.